Okay, Declan Byrne, race director of the Suir Valley 3-day. The race is now over. How was this year's for you?
Yeah, it's over now, so we can all breathe a sigh of relief. It's been a tough couple of weeks in the build-up to the race, and obviously the last 3 days is very, very busy. But yeah, no, I think this year was a great race. I think every year we try and vary the routes, and the riders will recognise some of the course they go over. And we're very lucky the amount of routes that we have here and the stages that we can create. I really feel that the racing this year was quite good. Our first stage over the V, which is a Category 1 climb, we haven't visited for about 3 years. It didn't break it up too much, but it broke it up, and there was some really good racing. The race went into 3 separate groups and nearly came all back together before the end to keep it interesting. The second stage is one that we've run. It's the same second stage for the last 3 or 4 years. It's a famous route made famous by Sean Kelly, who's obviously lives very close to here, and we call it the Ballymac route, so Ballymac, Dungarvan, Lemmy Bryan. And this year they did it in 2 hours and 1 minute for nearly 100 kilometres. So it's really competitive, really fast racing. And the Category 3 riders, the A3s and the A2s, they're coming in at the exact same time as the A1s and the A pluses, and really, really good racing. And I think everybody enjoys it. The spectators enjoy it, and the riders really like it. And I think that's probably their favourite stage. Stage 3 then this year. We took a small. We went to pretty much every single town in South Tipperary, which was a small risk, I suppose, because it's very difficult now to bring a travelling 130 riders through town safely. And this year, Stage 3 went through nearly 6 significant sized towns, but all went out pretty much without incident. We had 2 small crashes. I believe one of the riders broke his collarbone, which is always unfortunate, but it's a characteristic of our sport. And at the very, very end, we had a fantastic sprint, one of the best and most exciting sprint finishes I've seen for a long, long time. And just one of the riders, actually after the finish line, clipped a wheel, and a couple of riders came down, and there was a few cuts and bruises. But apart from that, everything was really, really great. I think the vibe was good, I think the atmosphere was good, and most importantly for us, the riders really, really enjoy our race.
There was a Stage 2B this year as well, a hill climb, so obviously that's something new as well. I think that was a good addition to the race. Yeah,
we really try to be creative down here, and it's maybe be quirky in adding something different to the race. We used to, years ago when I was riding my bike, have an awful lot of criteriums, and riders could ride 3 or 4 criteriums in a week during the summer season, and that's something that's really fallen off. And I think it's a pity, because it's a skill that when riders, if riders are used to riding criteriums, they become more skillful at going around corners. And we've had a criterium for the last couple of years in the race. Unfortunately, this year with the flood relief scheme, the works that were going on in the town, it wasn't possible to use that course. So we were looking, what would we do, what would we add into the race? And we also wanted it to be pretty central to the town. We're very lucky that Clonmel is on the foothills of the Cumra Mountains, so we had a great hill climb. It was 1.1 kilometre, and actually the Nissan Classic went up there in 1986, and Sean Kelly would have done 2 loops of that course. But I think, yeah, it added something spectacular. The area of the town that we started in is called the Old Bridge, and the community got behind it there. It was really good, and bouncy castle and face painting when all the riders were warming up, so it adds an atmosphere to the race. And so yeah, I think it went really well, and we were really surprised with the quickest time was 3:27. It was 3:24, which was I was predicting mid 4 minutes, but so that it was great. It was great, really good.
Looking further ahead, what's the longer term plans for the race?
Well, we've always said we've a huge amount of infrastructure in place here, and we're in our 5th year. We have some. Every year we've added to our portfolio of signage and time trial ramp, and obviously our own Clonmel Cycling Club members are getting more experience at helping out at this level. So our ambition is ultimately to go UCI. We'd love to keep it a 3-day race at this time of year. On the UCI calendar at the moment, there's very, very few 2.2s at this time of the year, so it would be very easy for us to attract teams in. Of course, it all depends on sponsorship and funding, but we don't believe that we're too far away in the general infrastructure of the race. So if we get the funding, and we're working very, very hard on that, it won't be 2012, but possibly 2013.
I think it would be important for the Irish calendar as well. You have the An Post Ross 2.2 race, but that's in May, and generally the season drops off after that because people put everything towards the An Post Ross. So if there was another UCI event, I think it would probably be beneficial to the overall calendar for this country.
Yeah, genuinely one of the reasons when we all sat down 6 or 7 years ago and seriously contemplated putting on a 3-day international bicycle race in Clonmel, that was one of the factors, and that was one of the reasons. We're also familiar with the Irish domestic calendar and about the Ross and how they struggle to keep riders motivated to go continue racing until the national championships. And really, for the A1 riders, it all falls away. And that was one of the reasons that we started this race up in August, and we picked the August Bank Holiday weekend specifically. We could have picked June, which is a free weekend in the domestic calendar at the moment to have an A1 race, and we probably would fill our entries much quicker. But we've designed the race in such a way that the stages are not too long. So the riders can say, well, look, it's 100 kilometres, it's 117 kilometres. I can be competitive for that amount of time. So and they can mix it with some of the A1 plus riders that we have, like the An Post riders, or in the past David McCann at Giant Asia, and these guys add a huge amount to our race. It's obviously much easier for us to attract sponsorship, and then they attract the media and national exposure in the papers, which is great for us in the town and the Borough Council, which gets behind us not just financially but also in bringing the stages right into the centre of town. And there's very few races of this size that can get so close and have a finish into the centre of a town of this particular size. And it's also helped us. We're now running the national championships in 2012, and we're going to use a circuit very, very similar to one we used in 2009 on the World Military Cycling Championships, which is an 18-kilometre circuit, and it goes every single lap, finishes in the main street, and our finish line is going to be in the main street in Clonmel on the Sunday. So we're very, very lucky to have that support and to be able to bring the races so centrally into the town.